All right, if you're a real estate agent that has been wondering, what should I be doing right now to build my business in the now and also to build the business of your dreams in the future? We're going to talk about some situational prospecting, and Ricky Carruth is going to tell us exactly how to do this in a way that's definitely going to help your business grow. All right, Ricky, this is a conversation that's been long overdue, my man. We have I've watched your progression, and as we've talked about, we've kind of built our businesses in very similar ways. And it's really on a core strategy and then a follow-up program. So I know with all the changes that are going in the market, all the disruption, all of the things that people are distracted by now, if they'll just focus in on this that you're going to talk about, you're going to share in your business, it'll make all the difference for people. So if you don't mind, kind of just go through, let's talk about the main strategy that you really built your business on, if you don't mind, and we'll kind of go through that process.
No, absolutely, man. Good to be here. Good to see you. This is long overdue.
Yeah.
Man, I'm down here in Gulf Shores, Alabama, right? Orange Beach. People don't know about this place really, man. It's probably people know about 30A where you are, but nobody really knows about us, man. It's really the same
Oh,
beach,
man.
just extends right over here. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I started in real estate in 2002, and I was taught the old, like the traditional stereotypical way that agents are taught to go out here and sell, basically. Hand letters, direct mail. Back then, there was no social media, of course, right? No
Right.
Zillow, none of this stuff that we got today, man. We got all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy stuff that we can take advantage of. But, letters, postcards, emails, phone calls, asking sellers if they would sell and all this stuff. And everything was focused transactionally. And that's really what was the beginning of the end for me. When the market crashed, I had nothing to really fall back on. When you build your business the right way, people that you meet year one never forget you. People that you
Right.
meet year two never forget you. People that you meet year three never forget you. You're able to have that growth year over year, not because of the leads you got that year, but because all the leads you got in the past years that still remember you. And that's a mistake a lot of agents make. A lot of these agents that have great months and then nothing for a couple of months. It's because they never really built that pipeline and had that system in place where people that have those great first interactions and great first impressions with you never forget you. See, the objective is to talk to thousands of property owners in your market, right? One-on-one conversations, create these great experiences, this great first impression, right? Really stand out as someone who cares about them. Number
Right.
one, I call it FE, treating everyone like family.
Right.
And when you do that, they have this great, warm and fuzzy about you. Okay. Now, from there, they might be interested in buying or selling something soon, or they may not be. Either way, it doesn't matter,
Doesn't matter.
right? When you climb the mountain to 1 million or 2 million or 3 million a year, it's going to be built on people who aren't ready right now. And most agents throw those away and focus only on people that are motivated to do something today, which is fine. Everybody has the right to build their business however they want to, but I want to build a solid. See, going back to why I lost everything, I didn't have any relationships to fall back on.
That's
That's the
right.
thing. If you build your business the right way, you're not worried about market swings, rule changes, etc., because you have so much business. Because closings will happen, they have happened every single day of your life. They're going to happen every day from here on out, regardless of what happens in the market: elections, market swings, wars, recessions, depressions. Closings were still happening back in the late 20s when the depression was happening, real estate closings. And so when you realize that, you start to open your mind up to the possibility that, you know what, business is unlimited now. And the whole game is not doing deals, right? The deals are kind of the results you let kind of take care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
Your job as an agent needs to be to create relationships with people in your market. Um, and business relationships. A lot of agents get in the business and they're like, I'm great at making friends. I you know, I love people. I can talk to people. Everybody meets my friend. Well, there's a big difference in creating a friend at the ball field or at work and a business relationship where they feel like you're not only their friend, but also somebody they can trust to handle one of the biggest financial decisions they're ever going to make. There's a
Right.
big difference in those two. And most agents can't make that transition, right? They get in, they make friends with people, and they like them, but they're not going to use them as an agent. And the agent thinks that they will because they like them and they talk nice to them, but they don't realize that they've already got an agent they've been talking to for 3 years that they really, really, really trust with this decision. So what do you want to do? You want to be the agent that's been talking to them for 2, 3 years that they really,
Right.
really, really trust. You want to be that agent, right?
Yeah.
Not the agent that's friends with them that isn't going to get the deal, but feels like you will get the deal. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of how I had to lose everything to learn that lesson.
Me
And then
too,
I
man.
came back and I was like, all right, let's do this. I know how this works. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to build relationships now. And that's what I did. And I went back to roofing houses. I worked on an oil rig. I was sleeping in my car. I was bankrupt, homeless, eating out of people's refrigerators. And I came back in 2008 and, I started building my business on relationships over transactions, and it was really incredible because I made 80,000 that first year, 2008, which was twice what I made on the oil rig the year before. Like literally put myself in a life or death situation to make 40 grand. Like it was I literally could have died. I mean, I saw people get hurt really bad and there was some close calls with some stuff. Literally, I there was a 200-pound piece of metal that came down and crashed on this machine I'd been working on all night. Crazy stuff for 40 grand. So I make 80,000 that year sitting in the air conditioning, like just talking
Right.
to people on a
Yeah.
phone,
Yeah.
showing, condos on the beach. It was
Yeah.
like, wow, nothing I do is hard now.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know.
I built my business that way, and I built the relationships up. I made 80, then I made 100, then I made 150, then I made 150, I think again. I okay, but like I stair stepped my way all the way back up to $1 million by 2017. And then I never made another cold call or prospecting effort. Once you build your business up to the point that you're making the amount of money you want to make, you never have to prospect ever again in your life, right?
Yeah.
If you built it the right way, where all those people over the years never forget you. I do that.
Yeah.
I did that through a weekly email on the same day of the week forever.
Yeah.
Customized, personalized, great information, local value, etc. People do that differently. Like everything works. Right?
That's right.
That's the next big thing. You got to figure out what works good for you. But yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. People look at
Yeah.
like cold calling or prospecting and are like, like knock it out quick. Get to get past those thousands of conversations in the next 3 to 5 years, and you're done. You can
Yes.
literally make a half a mil and a half a year for the rest of your life without ever prospecting again in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, this Ricky, what you're talking about, because obviously, as you know, our story is very similar. And for me, what I realized is I was always focusing, and I use it this way. I was focusing on the fruit, the closing. But in reality, when I got focused on a daily basis on nourishing the roots, so to speak, and just took care of the stuff on the foundational
Yeah.
stuff, that the fruit just came because the roots were healthy.
Yeah.
And so, what I want to do is go through this in a way where we just get super practical, because I know there are people out there, especially, I mean, I know you're hearing from them every day. I am too. Agents reaching out and just saying, I'm just not sure what to do right now. This is going to be
Yeah.
super actionable for people because, so let's talk about about these calls. What did they look like? Who were you trying to call? And then once you got them on the phone, let's walk through exactly kind of what that process looks like and what you talked to them about or what you said and what the ultimate goal was.
So in today's world where there is the Zillows and the social medias and stuff, right? It's funny because agents, and I think this is the big reason why light agents are worried right now. They're so dependent on these
Great.
sources just basically giving them leads. And I
Yeah.
posted on Instagram the other day that, that might be the reason why agents are worried because they're getting spoon-fed leads. And there was a lot of comments like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I work hard for everything. Yeah, you may work hard for all, like once you get the lead, you may work really hard to try to make stuff happen. I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about the actual cultivation, like the actual getting the lead, right? These leads just kind of come in through social or they come in through Zillow or realtor.com and all that. And who knows, maybe those are fake leads, right? Who
Nice.
knows?
Mhm. Yeah.
But you don't know. You don't have any control over what those leads are. And when you're dependent on a third party to give you leads, whether you're paying for them or not, whatever, then you're susceptible to rule changes and market swings, etc. But when you build your business in a way where you actually produce the leads, then you don't
Yeah.
have to ever worry about anything because regardless of what's happening
Right.
or what rule changes happen or market swings or whatever the case may be, you can literally create deals out of thin air. So back when I was coming up, I would call condo buildings
Yeah.
and I would just tell them something sold, ask them if there's something I could do for them. So back then that worked really well because it doesn't work well now, and I'll tell you why. But back then it worked really well because prices were only up like 10% over a 3-year period, and interest rates were still around 5.5. So move, they could literally move and not worry about these higher interest rates or big price swings or whatever. They could upgrade or do whatever they wanted to do. And there wasn't a lot of friction, right? It wasn't like a big decision.
Right.
Today, there's a big decision, right? Because prices are like 50% higher than they were in 2019, and interest rates are 2 or 3 times more than their current mortgage. So there's a big difference in today's market versus yesterday's market when it comes to strategy when you're making these calls. And also, I'm in a second home market, which gives you an even bigger advantage, right? For
Right.
me, because there's a lot more turnover. These people don't live in these places. And so it's a little different than the primary market. So what I've transitioned over to with teaching agents in today's market is what I call situational prospecting, which is which is beautiful because what you do is you find a situation that is attractive to the people that you're calling. And now you're calling to offer them value and you're giving them a situation to consider versus just saying, is there something I can do to help you? Or would you consider selling your home? I have a buyer, all the typical things agents do. You get away from that and you move towards how can I bring somebody value? It's like most people love the home they're in. Most people, right? And so agents call and say, "Hey, would you sell your home?" It's just as threatening as the bank calling and saying, "Hey, I'm going to foreclose. We're going to take your home from you." Right? It's
Right.
like leave me alone. I love my house. I'm not going to sell it. Right?
Hmm.
I'm never gonna. I may sell that later, whatever. But you're just trying to sell. You're just trying to make a commission, right? You're
Right.
not really worried about what you can do for me. You're more worried about what I can do for you as the
Right.
prospect. And my philosophy is let's switch that around. Instead of what can the prospect do for the agent, it's what can the agent do for the prospect. And so I like situational prospecting now, whereas I step into these situations. So, like for example, you can find, I mean, like there's a million different situations that you can come up with, right? Let's just think of one. You can go and find assumable loans where somebody could get a mortgage for, they can assume a loan for like 3.5%, right? And then you can call all the owners around that house that have smaller homes and say, hey, I see you got a 3 bedroom. Do you need a 4 bedroom? I got a really nice one down the road you could get for a 3.5% mortgage. I'd love to show you. And now you're not calling them to ask them to sell their home or would they consider selling their home. You're calling them saying, hey, do you need a bigger house? I've got a situation
Good.
here
It's really good.
where you could get into it for the same rate you have now if you need a bigger home. Because a lot of these trade up sellers, there's a larger and larger group of trade ups to people that own properties now right now that do want to move, right? They need a bigger home, but they're locked in because of the rate, or they want a nicer home. They just want to upgrade, but they just don't quite feel like the market is quite there as far as price and interest rate, etc. Even though they have a lot of equity, right? The
Right.
market is so strong, it's ridiculous. When rates come
Hmm.
down, the whole thing's going to explode,
I
right? I
agree.
mean, just straight up. But
Hmm.
but there's so many situations, and if you can present an offer to one of these trade up sellers who is actually looking to they want a bigger house, but they just don't think that exists, a situation for them to exist. You present to them, hey, you can get into this thing for 4%. If you need a bigger home, I'd love to show you. What you're
Yeah.
doing is you're saying, hey, I'm here to help you, right? If you don't want to buy this, great. Let's stay in touch for when the market moves or whatever happens. And so it's cool because the way that I do business is I'm building my long-term business and my short-term business at the same time,
Yeah.
right? At the same time. And Like if you want to get real situational, you could literally find if you're in one of these bigger markets. Let's say you find a 2 million. Let's say you're in an average market where average prices are like 400, and there's maybe a few $2 million homes around there. There's maybe a couple of 10 millions or there's some 5 millions. You take that. Let's just say like 3 million, right? Let's say three. You got a $3 million home, right? Your average price point is 400. That's your bread and butter. You got that rolling. You're closing like 3 or 4 a month there, but you want to dabble in this other market. Heck, you could take the 3 million, right? You want to work the 1 to 3 million market. Take a $3 million home on the market. Call all the $1 million property owners and say, hey, I've got a really nice 7 bedroom or 4 bedroom or bigger home or newer home or better view, whatever the selling point is. I'd love to show you if you're thinking about making an upgrade, right? And now you're not calling them with, would you sell your house that you probably love? Or, I've got a buyer, or is there anything I can do to help you? Right? You're calling them with the situation for them to consider. And now you're starting the relationship off on the right foot. And so now look at what I'm doing. I'm actually tackling the $3 million market and the $1 million market at the same time. I'm building
Right.
my long-term business and my short-term business at the same time. And so I like to do all these things at the same time, all within the one phone call. I'm actually accomplishing long-term $1 million business, short-term pay my bills business. This price range, that price range, and I'm knocking everything out. And that's the definition of efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Ricky, talk to me about obviously you talked about the first end of that. And I know both of us have basically look, the goal is obviously to find somebody we can help. But one of the goals is obviously to get an email address so we can keep in touch with them and add them to that email list. How does that sound on the back end of that conversation? If somebody's like, we're not really interested, how
Oh,
does that
cool. Yeah, you're
transition
not
to capturing
interested.
that? Yeah.
Cool, cool, great, great. You're not interested. Great. Is there an agent in the area you would work with if you
Right.
were to buy or sell
It's good.
something? Oh,
Hmm.
okay, cool. Well, if they know an agent, great. Who is it? I may know them. Oh yeah, they're a great agent. I know them, man. You're in good hands there. I tell you what, I'd still love to stay in touch with you, if that's okay. Yeah, great. What's a good email for you? So you
Perfect.
ask for the confirmation and get that verbal yes that it's okay to stay in touch before you ask for the email. If they say no, we don't know an agent. Oh well, I'm sure you're going to do something the next, I don't know when, 5, 10 years, maybe. I don't know. But when that day comes that you decide you want to do something, buy or sell, I'd love the opportunity to work with you. I tell you what, would it be all right if I just stayed in touch? Yeah, great. What's a good email? Boom. Right. So either way, whether they have an agent, they don't have an agent, you're working both angles. But it's good to know if they have an agent, right? It's good to kind of know where you stand in the pecking order of their decision making process, and basically you're squeezing it for everything you can when you do that. Some agents are scared to ask that because like, oh well, then they're going to tell me they have an agent and all this stuff, and it's like, well, I want to know if their
Yeah.
mom is an agent,
Right.
right? I want to know if their if their best friend is an agent. I want to know that information, and it doesn't mean I'm going to stop right there and not ask for the email, because I absolutely will, because people
Yeah.
change agents all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it seems like every time I have this conversation with people, people ask, well, where do you get your phone numbers? What do you use for your phone numbers? To find those phone numbers for those people to reach out to.
I found the best data on Red X.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
any of them
That's
work.
great.
Like
That's
if
it.
you if
Absolutely.
if you do Mojo or Vulcan or Espresso Agent, or I mean
There's tons of ways out there.
there's a
That's
handful of companies, right? But
right.
I personally I like Red X, and so I use them. But
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter. Like the one reason I like Red X is they have such a great filtering process. Like I can filter down, like I could search a subdivision. I get cell phones and emails, and then I could, if I have like a 4 bedroom over here, I can literally filter it down to the 3 bedrooms in a second, and then I have the 3 bedrooms, and I just call that list, right?
Right. Yeah.
They have so much on the back end that I can filter things different ways. I can do absentee
Right.
owners, I can do, age, size. There's so much stuff, and so I
Yeah.
can use that to kind of like map out my situational prospecting strategy based on whatever the situation is.
Right. Yeah. This is great. And listen, let's kind of transition now because I think early in my career, like when we were talking about in the early 2000s, I would make these calls But I was that guy we're talking about that would be like, oh, they're not ready. And I would just kind of just move on. And then what I learned is obviously, like you said, it doesn't matter. It's just getting them in the process and then adding value through that weekly email. Talk to me about what that weekly email looks like and maybe how it's evolved over time to be able to give as much value as possible to those folks so that you're top of mind when their time comes.
Well, email is just it's emails it's a social media platform, right? People
Yes.
go on their email. When people go on their phone to search to look on social media, they're scrolling, right? They're looking for content that stands out and they stop and they look at it, watch it, read it, whatever. Same thing with email. They open up their email, they scroll just like they do social media, looking for content that stands out that they want to click on and read. It's the same thing. It's just a different
Yeah.
format, right? Um, and so your email list is basically your social media platform that you control to a certain extent. And the organic reach of your social media platform, email, is like 90% versus, your organic reach on social is like 5%. You can't really control the algorithms there, but for the most part, everybody at least sees your email in their inbox. So it's
Right.
super powerful. And I like text too. I think email should be the primary. I think
Yeah.
text is something to add to it. And then social media is what you sprinkle on top of it. You definitely want to do all of it, right?
Right.
But I think
Mhm.
email should be the foundation though of
I agree.
everyone's business in terms of that nurturing process. Because if somebody goes on social media and follows you, they'll see your content for a couple of weeks. And if they don't start engaging with it, then that platform will stop showing them your content. Like you follow people and
Yeah.
then you don't see their content. And
Right.
then um you might see something like 6 months later and be like, oh, I forgot I was following that person, right? Same thing with your clients. And so what's really you have to strategize against all these different factors. When somebody follows you on social, you immediately reach out to them and make the connection via DM, whatever it is, and you want to collect that data and get them in your social media platform, right? So, but if you don't get them right when they start following you, the chances kind of start to dwindle more and more and more as time goes on for you to make that connection because they're slowly forgetting about you, right? So it's good to work the social media if you're going to work it. If you're going to do it, work it and work to get them. I mean, find out if they're looking to buy or sell something, and then get their
Yeah.
information so you can stay in touch and get their email, get their cell phone, all that stuff. But yeah, so that's the first thing to realize is is
Yeah.
is about that. And then as far as the content, it needs to be local content. It needs to be different every week. It needs to have your opinions on stuff. That's how you win in the social
Mhm.
world. Is it's
Right.
got to be your opinions on things. Most agents are on these automatic emails or sending automatic stuff, and it keeps your name in front of people, but it's not really giving them any value. Um, uh and so it'll send them like properties and it's like, here's a property, like click here for a property, right? But
Right.
like the way I do it is like, here's the deal of the week and here's what I think about it,
It's
right?
great. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the restaurant of the week. We went there, we had the shrimp etouffee, the service is amazing. Reply back for a chance to win a $20 gift card or $100 gift card, and so having things in the email and not just saying, here you go, here's information, but also giving your opinions on it, that's what's going to keep people coming back to not only your email, but your all of your media.
Yeah. And Ricky, I think we both kind of saw this too. I had hired a virtual assistant to help me with some social media in the Philippines, and it's been tremendous because it's just the insight. One of the things that this young lady said to me, which was so eye-opening, she said, Jimmy, you're really good at media, but it's social media, and you're missing the point of not interacting with the folks or finding those things that where you're interacting with them. And like you're saying, what I've noticed is as I've become more social, so to speak, replying, making sure I'm replying to every comment, or making sure I'm going out and finding people that are that have a similar audience, and communicating value in those places and commenting on that group of clients that are our core group.
Mm,
It's changed everything. Because like you said, all of a sudden now it's like you're priming the algorithm that you are the person they're looking to have. And so they're going to continue to push that stuff out.
yeah.
Also, you mentioned about those things that you're doing. I think a lot of times I'll see agents and on social, they're just listed, just the same stuff, man.
Mm,
And there's just no real value. Like you're talking about giving your opinion on a local restaurant. What
yeah.
I've seen is that is so valuable to people, especially
Yeah.
like when you and I are in coastal markets where people are like, they're sitting somewhere wishing they were here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think I've watched you do some of this stuff. Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, has there been something? I mean, obviously you get to a point too where the algorithm starts feeding those things. If you were that agent that was sitting there now, I mean, obviously yours has grown to a point where it's just almost feeding itself now. But if you were starting out now, what were some of the things that you'd be doing on that social side if you were a newer agent or an agent that's trying to start building that?
I don't know. I don't know that that would be where my focus would be in the very beginning.
Where would it be then?
It would be on talking to property owners.
Absolutely.
Right? It would be
Yes.
talking to
Mhm. Yeah.
property owners. I mean,
Hmm.
I tell new agents when you first come in, spend 50% of your time, and this is for part-time agents, right? Who come
Right.
in and they have a job or whatever. The first thing you have to do is you have to say, here are the hours throughout the week, every week that I'm going to 100% dedicate to my business. If you don't, and most agents are like, I'll do whatever, whenever. They're just kind of like floating with no, like, I'm going
Mhm.
to dedicate 100% of my time here. If you
Yeah.
don't have time that you're dedicating 100% to your business, you're not going to have a business. So that's the first thing. The second thing is whatever those hours are, spend 50% talking to property owners and the other 50% doing your post-license education stuff. Your post-license courses and your contract courses and your MLS courses and your brokerage learning stuff and all that, right? So 50% making your calls, and 50% on post-license education. And then once you get past the post-license education, you replace that 50% with marketing. So you maintain the 50% of the calls, you never let that go. And you
Right.
replace that 50. So you don't even do marketing. I don't even say like don't even worry about doing any kind of marketing really, right? Until you're done with your post-license education stuff. Now, if you're full-time, you're coming in with 8 hours a day, different story, right? Different story with how you're going to structure everything. You have time to do marketing, calls, and your post license stuff. But if you're
Right.
part time, you don't, and so you take the marketing out because you're overwhelming yourself. Number one, it's just too many things. Like focus on becoming a great communicator. Your wealth is going to be determined by the value that you provide other people and the way that you articulate that value, and your ability to articulate those results that you can get for people. And so if you're not working on that skill to learn how to articulate your value to people,
Right.
then you're never really going to succeed at a high level, regardless of how much social media you do or whatever the case may be. So understanding that it's about articulating your value, and then what is your value? Your value is your ability to get people to trust you, right? Because when agents go on a listing appointment and they're getting interviewed, and there's two other agents the seller's interviewing, and they don't get the listing. They wonder why. What went wrong with my listing presentation? I need to fix my listing presentation. No, the sellers already knew before all the interviews who they were going to pick. They were just interviewing just for due diligence. They were just interviewing just to
To
make
make sure.
sure. And was
Mhm.
there a chance you could get that listing? Sure, there's a chance, but it's really slight possibility. Why? Because that agent that got it talked to him 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and has been building and developing that trust ever since. And so what you want to do is you want to be that agent that has been developing that trust with all those people. How do you do that? We got to talk to a lot of people now and plant all those seeds, right? So that in 3 years, all the people you talk to this year do business with you. That sounds like, oh, that's too long out and everything. What you don't get is that closings are happening every single day. And that if you're talking to people, it's not going to hurt your chances to do business today if you're talking to more people. And the more
Right.
people you talk to, the better you get at learning how to develop trust for other people about you, and the better you get at that. So you want to practice at this, right? So I say it like this: what do you, Jimmy, call a doctor's office?
The actual office or the hospital?
So they call it a practice,
Yeah, I
right?
got it. I got you.
They
Yes.
call it a
Yes. Absolutely.
practice.
Yes. Mhm.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they are practicing on you.
Right.
This isn't
Mhm.
the real thing for them, right?
Right.
This is not the real thing. They're practicing. When they got you on the surgery table and they got your stomach cut open, I'm sorry, but they are practicing on you. And they're doing what? They're practicing to get better for the next surgery. They're practicing on that surgery to get better for the next surgery.
Right.
Everything is practice. That's why they call it a practice.
Right.
And for agents, every single call, every single listing appointment, every single showing is practice. It's not the real thing, right? You shouldn't. The difference in me and most agents is I don't walk in a listing appointment trying to get the listing. I walk in there to try to not to try. I walk in there with the intentions to connect with the prospect, to understand what they got going on, and try to help them put together a plan to help them do it and give them some options to work with me, etc. My objective is to connect with the prospect and get better at listing appointments. That's it. If I
Yeah.
get the listing, that's a bonus. I'm practicing. And the more practice I put in, the more closings I'm going to have. You kind of just have to let the results take care of themselves. I don't know how we got here. I don't know what I'm
Oh,
talking about. I don't know what the
no,
question
man,
is,
this is
but
good. No, I'll tell you where I think we got here is because I think a lot of agents are missing the point of understanding that, especially agents that maybe have come through a pandemic market where it was so easy and they were just order takers that have never had to actually communicate their value, have never had to have a marketing plan for listing, have never had to have conversations because the phone calls were coming in and they never had to go out there and make the phone calls. I think where we are now is and I say this all the time, is you can't expect that first phone call to be your best. If it is, man, something's wrong. Every single time it should be, like you say, you should be practicing getting better, refining, becoming where you understand to be able to identify the needs they have sooner so that you can give options and solutions
hmm.
faster, because those are those things where we're all getting better. We should be getting better over time. And the more, the better. And like you said, when we first started, the faster you do these basic foundational things, the faster you hit the tipping point and the business and the referrals begin to just filter in where you don't ever have to do it again. But to think that you're not going to have to do this and build an effective business is naive. And if somebody tells you that, you're being naive. You still have to have those. Even the agents that are out there buying these Zillow leads that are basically at the bottom of the funnel or close to it, there is a work ethic that has to happen to have those transactions in a way that builds relationships so that you don't just have to go get the next one. You keep building on those relationships. So this is what I'd love for us to kind of wrap up with. If you're, because I think there's so many people out there in the industry now, you and I talked about this before we even started recording, that are just being distracted and they're just allowing the outside forces to affect their thought process and the actions they take. Those agents that are out there right now that are like, I'm just kind of, I'm either burnout or maybe I'm just not sure what to do. And what would you say to them? Because you
Read
and I have been
books.
doing this a while. We've been through these things
Read
before, man.
books. You need you
Yeah.
need you need to read books. You need to get into a coaching program.
Yeah.
You need to seek
Absolutely.
out who you feel like is the number one coach, right? Who you feel like is the number one coach and do their program, right?
Yeah.
Get what you can out of it. Go do another coach's program. Get what you can out of it and read. You need to read 20 or 30 pages of a book every single day. If you're burnout, that's because you're a fly trying to get out the window, right? And out their window is your dreams. And you're just trying to get out that window. Guess what? No matter how hard you try, you're not going to get out the window. What do? All you do is turn a 180 and go right out the door very effortlessly. And there you are at your dreams. See, to get to your dreams is way easier than what you're doing if you're burnt out. Doing more of the same stuff is only going to get you
Mhm.
more of the same stuff. And I learned this the hard way on a lot of different fronts. But until I realized that it's about learning more things. See, people, they learn something and they think they know it all, right? They learn something and they think, oh, I got it. I can take this to $1 million, but they don't know all the little pitfalls along the way. And so they learn and they get to a certain level and they feel like, and they get to a stopping point, it kind of plateaus, and they think, "Oh, I just need to put more effort in at what got me here." No, you're going to stay at that plateau until you what? Learn something new so you can do something new to get to the next level, right?
Right.
But most people think they already know it. They just need to do harder. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that doesn't work. You have to learn something new so you can do new things, so you can master new things, and then you'll plateau again. And then you learn new things so you can do new things, so you can master new things. And that's the cycle of continuing to level up to get all the way as far as you want to go. And most agents feel like that they already know everything they need to know. They've seen a couple videos on YouTube and they've researched everything and they got it all figured out.
Yeah.
your wealth I talked about was going to be determined by the amount of value you bring to other people and the way you articulate that value. It's also going to be a matter of your wisdom. Your wisdom comes from new knowledge that you execute upon to gain experience. So it's knowledge and experience, right? It's your real estate business is going to how much money you make in real estate is going to be determined by the number of relationships, the amount of knowledge that you gain, and the amount of experience that you gain from executing on that knowledge, right? And so it's knowledge, it's relationships, knowledge, and experience. Well, knowledge and experience equals wisdom. Like if you took all the money in the world and divided it up equal among every single human on the planet, it wouldn't be too much longer after that all the money would be right back in the same hands that it's in now. Why?
Right.
Wisdom, right? Wisdom. People don't understand because they think they know it all. Give them the money, right? Give them the money, right? Well, people that don't understand how to handle finances, they're going to spend all the money. It's going to be gone. It's going to be right back in the pockets of the guys that and girls who have the wisdom enough to actually build businesses, et cetera, right? It's your wisdom, and you
Right.
can't get it without new knowledge and experience from executing on that knowledge. And so if you understand this concept, you start to realize that money is just one of the ways you get paid on deals. So you get paid on deals through the relationship that you create on the deal, the knowledge that you gained on the deal that you never had before, because every deal is different, and the experience of going through the deal, which gave you wisdom. And so if you have the choice between, hey, here's $1 million worth of gold and here's wisdom, right? You're always going to pick the wisdom because you can make money with the wisdom, but you can't necessarily make wisdom with the money,
Right.
right? The
Yes.
wisdom's more valuable. So when you think about that scenario and you realize that the relationship, the experience, and the knowledge equals wisdom, as a bonus, you get money on the deal, right? The commission's kind of like the bonus that's really almost because the relationship, right, is worth 10 to 20 more deals to you over the life of your career. The experience and knowledge you can take with that wisdom and create hundreds and thousands of deals. So when you think about it, the commission you actually make on the deal is actually the least valuable part of your compensation for the deal. But nobody values all the other things. They're thinking about just the commission, and they're like, it's just like, oh, I'll never do a deal for free. Well, I never do a deal for free, but sometimes I only get paid in relationships and knowledge and experience that pay me
Great
10,
point.
20, 30 fold,
Mhm.
right? So that's like when the buyer agency came out, I was like, I'll help buyers for free. Like I'll get whatever I can get from the seller. And if I can't get anything, that's fine. No big deal, right? And that scenario is like a 0.001% chance, right? Probably never going to happen. But if it did, I'm not sitting here crying about it because I gained something more valuable than money. I got a relationship with this buyer who's going to love me forever and send me probably 30 deals over the next decade. I got experience from that deal of how to handle that. Maybe I could have done it a little differently next time, right? And I got the experience of that. And now I've got wisdom that I can take with me for the rest of my life that I actually got paid on that deal, but I didn't make any money, but I got something way more valuable than money. And this
Right.
is this is the kind of stuff that agents, they kind of miss. It's such a surface level, money driven attitude when there's just so much more to it.
I couldn't agree more. Hey, listen, speaking of learning and knowledge, man, I love the way you've been doing some challenges and things for agents. You want to share a little bit about that if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, dude. So every month I do a challenge. You can go to setmorelistingappointments.com and there's a coupon code 100 for the VIP experience. So the VIP experience, it's 4 days. It's 2 hours when you do the VIP. It's on you get to come on Zoom. So the first hour is just Q&A with me. You
Yeah.
bring your questions where you're getting stuck. I'm going to coach you and the rest of the VIPs. You get to hear the rest of the questions and answers. The second hour is training. So the 4 days is split up lead gen. The second day is call reluctance and listing conversion. Day 3 is content creation, and day 4 is $1 million a year formula. And I break everything down of
Yeah.
the whole process and everything. So setmorelistingappointments.com. I think by the time this comes out, the next one will be October 7th.
Great.
So it'll be great because that'll be pre-election and
Hmm.
that'll be because next year is going to absolutely explode,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Hey, man, always good stuff. Listen, I can't encourage people enough to follow your YouTube channel, follow you on Instagram, just the insights and everything. Thanks for all you do for the industry, brother.
man, my
Just
pleasure.
appreciate you. Hey, I
Same
think
to
you and I
you.
have talked about this. There's no way, man, we can give back to all that this industry's done for us and our families. So just
Not at all.
appreciate when I see you doing it that way. I notice it. I see you, brother. All right. I know you got
Appreciate you,
some
man.
value out of this. Make sure you reach out, let Ricky know how much you appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.